Hello, Eric Walczykowski here, CEO of Bespoke Partners and host of Tailored Talent. Today, I'm joined by one of our newest partners in the go-to-market practice, Liz Moses. Liz, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Eric. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Well, look, one of the things that you and I have been talking about is just your journey and your path to partner, which we cemented earlier this year. And we were very intentional about your growth over the last several years in the CEO practice and all of that expertise that you're now able to bring to the go-to-market practice. Talk to me a little bit about that journey and just your knowledge of CEOs that you're hoping to bring to go-to-market roles.
It's a super exciting time to be joining the go-to-market practice. I'm thrilled to be joining at this critical inflection point, having worked on the CEO practice for the last few years, splitting my time between go-to-market and CEO within the B2B software market. As we think about go-to-market, and particularly in this very interesting time we are in software, we're starting to see a pretty interesting trend around the types of CEOs that get hired. And so that really impacts the type of go-to-market leaders. Historically, in the CEO practice, the theme was we're hiring CEOs who have come up through the sales ranks, moved into broader go-to-market roles, and then assumed the CEO position. Today, in private equity software, there's a lot of tech debt. There's a lot of focus on AI. There's a lot of modernization efforts that are underway. So we're starting to see this pivot more towards product-leaning CEOs. With that, if you have a product-leaning CEO or even a first-time CEO, the need for a go-to-market number two has become utterly critical. And so we're starting to see this pivot where we're having very strong presidents who oversee the full go-to-market stack. We're starting to see very operational number twos serve as that go-to right hand for the CEOs that we're working with.
No, it makes a lot of sense in today's market. And you did mention the market, and I'd be remiss to say we've done some analysis on the value of roles to the hold period or to the portfolio company. And a lot of people think straight away it's the CEO, but what we've actually found is that CRO is the most valuable role in terms of value creation. You mentioned the market. It's the tightest market we have seen for executives in the 5 years that I've been doing this. But if I think back my operational career and trying to recruit executives, it's the tightest market I've seen. A lot of it has to do with this notion of deal flow is now starting to just get going, which is causing executives to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they're not willing to pick their head up because they want to finish what they started. But these new platforms are starting, and so there's demand. So demand is outpacing supply right now. So talk to me about how you're solving that.
Well, a couple of different ways. So maybe to start, we are seeing a little bit of bifurcation across our go-to-market practice. Here at Bespoke, go-to-market covers our traditional sales leader up to CRO, the post-sales functionality, as well as chief marketing officer. So in the sales function, CROs are always in high demand. It's always hard to get a hold of great proven CRO talent. One of the things that we've seen as a trend in the last couple of years, the operating partner model has really expanded across a lot of our top PE clients. It started with maybe CFO operating partners, maybe CEO operating partners, but there's a real focus in the last few years on go-to-market operating partners. So CROs or go-to-market leaders who have been through 2 or 3 exits, but even in some cases, 1 exit, are getting tapped for these operating partner roles. They're also getting tapped just to do independent board roles and work across 5 or 6 companies on their own time. So what we're really seeing is a supply issue where there's high potential first-time go-to-market leaders and a PE demand for very proven rinse and repeat go-to-market leaders. But those leaders are retiring. So how do we get those first-time CROs into the role, support them with the right resources in order to be successful as a first-timer? Statistically at Bespoke, roughly 50% of our placements in the go-to-market function are first-timers in the C-suite level. What we found, which is pretty interesting, the days to close for our searches for those first-timers is about 93 days. If the focus and pressure to find a proven CRO remains persistent throughout the search, those days to close go up to 120 days. So pretty meaningful as we think about the timeline of a search. getting that go-to-market leader in seat faster, having that openness to a first timer and supporting them with the right resources around them to be successful, particularly critical in this market.
No, fantastic. This notion, the risk mitigation, the notion of the operating partner is actually part of the risk mitigation, because this step up has someone that they can bounce ideas off, sanity check. Anything else you're seeing around risk mitigation as we place these step ups?
I think one thing that's very important, and this will very much depend on, the size of the company, where you are in the life cycle of your hold, but making sure you have a really strong RevOps organization to surround your go-to-market leadership team, particularly if it's a new platform or you've done several acquisitions, you're bringing disparate businesses together, you're building a unified go-to-market strategy. The importance of having a high quality number two as a RevOps leader to build that infrastructure on the back end, get everyone rowing in the same direction. We've seen that be particularly helpful when working with a first timer. In my experience, as you go from a really talented sales leader into that CRO role, your mandate becomes a lot more operational. And we've seen this across our other C-suite functions as well. And so having the right people around you to help with the strategy piece, the organizational development, that's been particularly useful.
No, fantastic. And I think the other thing I would say that on step ups, I think if I look at the last 12 months, we've done 125 or so go-to-market searches in private equity software. And I think the partner you select to find that CRO or the step up CRO is so important, because what I've seen time and time again is 99% of salespeople show up really good in interviews. And it really is knowing the market so well that you could back channel all around these step ups so that you know what you're getting on day one. And that's why I would say, I think, our team is uniquely qualified to play step up candidates because of how well we know the market. Now, when you think about the CRO role in general, how's it changing in today's market?
Yeah, great question. I think we're seeing more of an emphasis on retention, NRR, GRR. We've seen this trend happen for the last, call it 3 years, when the market changed in 2023. New logos became increasingly competitive, especially in a somewhat down market. And so the idea of the chief customer officer and a senior leader to oversee the post-sales methodology and function has become really popular and really impactful. Typically around that maybe 150 to 200 million in ARR, we start to see a really useful bifurcation between new logos and finding that laser deal closing, high focused chief sales officer, and then pairing that with someone who's very customer obsessed, maybe even a little bit technical, who can really help inform the customer support organization. We've seen that chief customer officer, chief operating officer, something along those lines emerge, particularly in that kind of 150 million and above range.
No, fantastic. Well, and look, there's so many interesting things going in the market that have caused the CEO profile to change, which is then is causing the CRO profile to change. But I think the notion in business anyways is you got to go sell new logos. Once you sell them, you got to maintain them and keep them. So talk to me a little bit about post-sale. So I've solved my CRO challenge now. Talk to me about the customer success role and how important that is in today's environment.
Hugely critical. We've seen an exponential increase in post-sales leaders, particularly in the last 18 months, as we're starting to see more new platform activity. I think as you think about what you're looking for in a chief revenue officer, again, it's that new logo hunter mentality. On the chief customer officer side, it's really about that data orientation. How are we tracking NRR, GRR, NPS, customer satisfaction, and then being fairly collaborative with the product organization. So one of the things we've seen, particularly in these highly acquisitive environments, is the idea of tiered support, how we use that tiered support to inform the product roadmap, and then that feeds into what we feed the sales team. So you're really this critical middleman within a B2B software organization, because you're informing the full feedback loop. So we're looking for chief customer officers who are very data-driven, very operational, but also very high EQ, very collaborative, listening to angry customers can sometimes be a challenge. So having that high EQ can be particularly useful as well.
Well, and what's fascinating is we have always believed in the importance of the customer success role just because of the focus and value creation on increasing net retention. But I think in today's environment where AI is really changing the landscape, that customer success role is even more important, because if you think about the product elements that AI is unlocking, I think being really close to your customers, understanding what the needs are, how they're evolving, so that there's symbiosis between sales, customers, and product is so important. So I'm so glad you brought that out. Hey, Liz, this has been extremely impactful. In closing, what do you think is defining what's most successful in go-to-market leaders in today's environment?
Yeah, typically when we're assessing go-to-market leaders, we're looking for sort of the basic quantitative factors that we're looking for in any search, right? Have they seen the movie as a number one or a number two? Have they been in a private equity environment, or do they have that grit to be able to do so? Are they familiar with the space? Are they familiar with enterprise selling or SMB selling based on the mandate? In today's market, in order to get to that next level and really find an executive who will stay with you through the life cycle of the hold, we're really focused on the qualitative factors: hustle, open-mindedness. The world is changing so rapidly with AI. The number of tools that are available for go-to-market leaders is greater now than it ever has been. Are you adapting to new trends? Are you not relying on your same tactics to close deals? Change management is more important now than perhaps it ever has been. We're always looking for really operationally driven, data-driven go-to-market leaders. Again, I think in today's market, it doesn't just cut it to be good at selling or good at marketing. And then lastly, just again, that collaboration piece, particularly as you think about the product leadership, the focus on product shift in the next couple of years, working with your CEO on that journey is useful as well.
Well, fantastic. Liz, congratulations again on your promotion to partner. I'm
Thank
thrilled with the insight from the CEO lens that you're going to bring to go-to-market. And I truly appreciate you joining today to share some knowledge.
Thank you so much.
Have an amazing day.